So, Andrew, are you in favor of a small government?
No.
Why?
Because small government usually is mediocre, and you need to have X amount of diplomats, you need to have X amount of statesmen, you have to represent 300 million people. In this particular case, I would actually advocate that you have far more congressmen. That way, you didn't have an electoral state which was as messed up as ours is. So that's what I would do. I would actually expand the electorate because having only 2 senators per state is probably not a great idea. Just so you know.
And alimony, your thoughts on that?
I think that in some rare instances that can be adjudicated and has been traditionally adjudicated by the church if alimony is necessary.
The church?
The church, yeah. I don't see why the state needs to become involved in a religious ceremony. Can you give me a reason? Can you give me a reason why secularists need to get married? Any of you? Like, why is that a good idea?
Well, I would assume because they love each other.
You can love each other without marriage. It's a religious.
Okay,
sacrament.
But you might have a tradition in your family like that you would want to get married.
You mean that came from the religious people in your family?
Hold on. I'm curious.
Yes,
so
it did.
You want to take the institution of marriage and make it like completely separate from the legal institution. So you would get no tax benefits for being a married couple.
You don't need. Yeah. So just to address these one at a time, right? Mm-hmm. You don't need to be married in order to address tax benefits for couples. You recognize this, right, Lauren?
I'm asking if you. I'm
and
asking.
I just answered. I just answered your question. You don't actually.
No,
you don't need to be married for tax benefits because you can address the tax system separate from marriage. It's ridiculous.
Okay, but so you think that's the only. So.
Oh, you mean changing it?
So he's saying that the only reason that the government is involved in marriage at all is to monitor taxes, and then taxes could be monitored.
I didn't say that at all. You just straw-manned my entire argument.
I'm trying to understand.
She's asking you a question.
And I just answered her question, and then she straw-manned the position. So, like, if you want to know the position, just ask, and I'll give it to you.
She was literally just doing that. Like,
no, she literally wasn't drunky. She literally didn't. So anyway, back to what you were asking me, Lauren, just to give you the answer to your question.
Okay, let me rephrase the question, if you don't mind. How is the government and marriage currently intertwined?
So right now they're the adjudicators. So at the moment, you have to go to the state in order to become licensed, and you also have to go to the state in order to get the license revoked. So essentially, they operate as a middleman adjudication system between the partnership and the marriage. So I think that can be done by the church, and it doesn't need to be done by the state at all. It's never been necessary, nor is that something which is traditional. That is not a traditional thing which is done.
So if you separated it, right? So if you separated this into like a religious ceremony, and you have the states not involved in marriages at all. However, the state would still monitor couples for the purposes of taxation. So what would that look like?
The same thing it looks like right now. Literally, it would look like the same thing it looks like right now.
It's no longer a religious thing. It's no longer for the dignity of family. There's in legal precedent, a lot of marriage issues have to do with the dignity of families and creating the best society possible.
Yeah, it's encouraging birth rates, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I agree.
And a lot of people try to throw these benefits that the government gives when it comes down to marriage and taxing. They try to throw this around to try to say, hey, well, this is a reason why you should get married. These are one of the reasons why you want to get married. You don't have to get taxed as much. When understanding, man, that the cons outweigh the pros in this situation. Now, when you look at marriage today, you have no fault divorce, right? Where women, or you're seeing a trend of women just waking up one day and saying that, well, you know what? I don't even want to be I don't even want to be married today. I like this is just not fulfilling to me anymore. Having a family and, having money and having a man who loves me and support me, that's just not good enough. I feel like Aisha Curry.
I love my husband. I love my kids. And I moved to a whole new city, a whole new state, rather. Just me, no one else. And I didn't move because I didn't love them, but I finally decided to love myself too. And so for years, like, I put myself on the back burner, just being a mom, being a wife, which is great, that's awesome. But, all this time, like, I was wearing a smile, but deep down, like, I wasn't really happy inside. And so one day I realized that I couldn't keep living a life that made everyone else comfortable while I was crumbling inside.
Guys, this right here is wild. I just made 2 videos about women prioritizing their happiness over their family, and other women encourage it. Other women champion that stuff on.
I feel like there's more out there that I could have experienced, but I didn't, because I just thought that, hey, maybe going down the route of having my own family was good enough, but it really wasn't. Now you're just seeing all of these women just up and leaving, up and divorcing, and you having women saying, hey, well, you know what? You women truly need to experience a whole phase when you are growing up. As if men are just going to sit here and say, yeah, y'all women should do that. We're going to be here waiting for you once you get done getting ran through. Come on, people. Let's just be honest. This is a woman's logic. This is a woman's logic. So going to Andrew's point, understand he is just simply saying that he wants marriage with a woman through his culture, through his religion, acknowledged by the government, getting the benefits from the government, but they can't dictate or have a say in if we have a divorce, right? When a lot of people have a divorce, they go through divorce court, and you see a lot of men getting screwed over. You see a lot of men being belittled. I mean, it's almost like a TikTok live, right? Where you have Andrew going, I mean, shout out to Andrew, bro. Shout out to Andrew Wilson and his wife. I love listening to them and watching. The reason why we're even reacting to his video today. But when you look at Andrew and he goes on these TikTok lives, they always try to mute him because he makes great points. And they can't argue his points. They don't have any rebuttals for his points. So they end up muting him. It's the same thing in the courts, people. It's the same thing in the courts. When you want to go through the courts, they say, hey, well, listen, you have to pay for this woman's lifestyle. You have to pay this exorbitant amount of money. I mean, you dang near have to go broke to go ahead and fund another person's lifestyle that you pretty much hate. You hate this person and you have to fund their lifestyle. You dislike this person, but you have to fund their lifestyle. People, make that make sense. Anytime a woman has to go through it, prime example, Wendy Williams, if you understand what I'm talking about and you just want to go to the comments, go to the Shade Room comments and look at how women felt about Wendy Williams having to pay alimony. When Tiana Taylor has to pay alimony, women hate that. But the second a man has to, they have all the excuse in the world as to why it has to happen. And men get screwed over every time. 90% of custody going to the woman. 70% of your women are initiating divorces. And you're looking at you just saw the trend, and then not only that, you're looking at women getting custody of the children. Somehow, some way, they don't have the money or the time to be able to take care of the child, and they always complain. But yet, when you have the man who has the money, who has a girlfriend, who has help, these women will still say, no, the child should be in my custody majority of the time. This is what men have to deal with. And the courts use that to their advantage every time, because of course we already know the judges and the system, they get money. The judges get an incentive when they put men on child support, right? When they get an incentive from the child support, right? From the men that they put on child support. Very rare do you see women being on child support. And Andrew Wilson is just simply saying that, hey, well, listen, we just want to get married through our religion, through our church, right? And if that is the case, they need to make the final decision on what our divorce is going to be like. Because once again, the system and the government claims that they have our best interests at heart, but they don't, right? They don't. You see how men get screwed over in the courts. And he's just simply saying, how about we get the benefits? But when it comes down to divorce, let's leave that up to our pastors. Let's leave that up to our overseers.
You're just going to interrupt me every time I talk and then complain if I interrupt you.
Okay, well, give me the signal when you're done, because it sounds like you're winding down, so I'm just trying to answer your question.
When I'm not talking.
That's
when I'm talking.
Let's see if that ever happens, but go ahead.
I could see why you complain about no fault divorces. I could see you wanting to grasp onto your wife as best as you can. I could see that she's probably
Oh,
running
great!
down
What
the
a
floor.
swell argument. Are you going to get to an argument? Because I'm still waiting for one.
Dude, I lost my.
I'm sure you did.
Go ahead, say what you were gonna say because you wanted to interrupt me. So
Well, wait a
much.
second. Wait a second. You're saying that just a minor interruption, you derailed your entire
Oh
train
my
of thought?
God, you guys are both doing
Come
the same
on.
thing right now. Just get to your points, both of you, for the love of God.
You get to your point, Andrew.
My point is that you don't need to have the state involved in marriage at all.
Okay. So how is that system going to work? So now the state is not involved in marriages, but however, you're saying the state is still involved in couples being taxed differently than single people. So then couples will also want to be triples for tax purposes, maybe business partners, and then also maybe father and daughter maybe would want for tax purposes to live together. So will that be allowed by the state? Does this change things? Because it's no longer a sexual family dynamic. So I'm curious as how this is now going to work in your new society.
There's,
and also
what do you so here I'll answer. Okay, sorry, go ahead. I thought you were done talking. My bad. Go ahead, you got the floor still.
I'll let you answer that.
Okay, so first of all you're talking about here is changing one position, which is that the government itself no longer issues marriage licenses. They don't need to do it. For the purposes of taxation, they still are going to track who's cohabitating. They've always tracked who's cohabitating. We have the U.S. Census, which is great at doing this. You have Social Security numbers for your job. And if you want to have tax benefits and tax breaks and things like that, you could maybe engage in what's called a civil union. There's states which have had those for an awful long time, and you can do that. That's how homosexuals used to be able to get married, is through a civil union. They would get all of the same protections of a marriage without it being the actual sacrament of marriage. And then if you want to have no-fault divorce for your secular marriages, fine. But I think that you should probably push for some kind of sacrament or some kind of value to marriage if you want people to remain married. I can demonstrate this by the fact that religious people get divorced less, yet they seem to be happier in their marriages.
Do you know the legal distinctions between a civil union and a marriage?
I couldn't hear you. Say that again.
Do you know the legal distinctions between a civil union and a marriage?
Depends on the state.
Okay, but for instance, when a spouse dies in a civil union, do they receive the estate or part of the estate, especially in a homestead state?
I mean,
Florida?
let's assume for a second none of them could. You, as the secularist who introduced civil unions instead of marriage, could easily ratify that for whatever secular framework that you wanted. So whatever non-religious framework that you wanted to add in and call it a civil union, another than religious union, you could add in whatever the hell you wanted.
So this is essentially marriage, but with a different terminology.
Whatever you want to call it. We wouldn't recognize it as marriage. We would recognize you as like people who are playing house or something.
Then why don't churches just have their own ceremony that they don't recognize the state?
They do. The state doesn't recognize that ceremony.
Don't Catholics not recognize the state divorce anyway?
The state.
So they already do.
So I'm going to explain this so that you
a
understand. The state itself does not recognize religious marriage by itself. So the state itself still has to issue a license, and you are still subject to the state for the purposes of you being able to get divorced. You understand the distinction there? There's a huge distinction. Yeah.
Not religiously, because if you're Catholic, the priest still won't sanctify your divorce, so you won't be considered divorced. And I know this because my dad's Catholic, and there was issue with my grandma with divorce, whatever.
Yeah, Catholics are really weird about that stuff. I agree.
So even though her partner wanted a divorce from his wife to marry my grandma, he couldn't. He had to wait for her to die in order to marry my grandma, even though he was legally divorced, because the church wouldn't recognize
church said
it. So
no.
that's already, your dream world already exists.
No, it doesn't. So first of all, the
Yes,
Catholic,
it does, because the church
no,
has
the
a
Catholic
different
Church.
recognition of marriage than
Stop.
the state.
Stop.
The state
You're missing the
sanctified
point.
Divorce, but the church did it.
You're missing the point. The enforcement arm's not the church. The enforcement arm is still the state. So he still had to go. Stop and let me finish. He still had to go and get divorced by the state, right?
I mean, if it was just religious.
Answer my question. Did he have to go to the state and get divorced?
No, because he had to wait for his wife to die, right?
Well,
in
you
order
just
to
got done
marry
saying
gay.
that he got divorced, but he couldn't still leave the marriage because the Catholic Church wouldn't let him, right?
Right. So now you're
Okay, so
asking
then
me,
he did
as
have
a
to go to the
divorcee,
state, and the state did have to give him a
no, 'cause
divorce
either way, he had to wait for his wife to die.
because
So
he was
no,
adhering to his religious institution, but he still had to
because
go
the
to the
church,
state, Lauren, to get a divorce, Lauren. You just said he did.
if he wanted to separate the state ties of his marriage, which is what the state would be regulating in this civil union system that you're setting up
No, the state wouldn't
anyways.
be regulating anything with religious marriage. Why would they be
Oh,
regulating it?
so now you want the church to dictate the separation, which would be the cause
Yes.
of these civil unions.
Yes,
But
I
you're
want the
also
church to
doing
if you're going to
taxing
do a
differences. You're going
sacramental.
to interrupt me when I'm
I'm
asking
answering your question. Yes. The answer is yes. I want the church to adjudicate that.
First of all, have you heard of the separation of church and state? Have you heard of this concept?
This would
before?
separate the church and state. What are you talking about?
Wait, hold on. I think we're kind of going in circles a little bit here. I just want to try and keep us back on track. So I guess I'm not necessarily cutting anyone off here, but like, Andrew, like, if you can already get married via the church without being legally binding currently, then what are you complaining about? Why did you get married for a legal purpose? Which I assume you did. I'm not sure your particular situation.
Once again, Andrew is just saying that we get married in our church and our tabernacles, and we get divorced through them. However, the government does acknowledge that we are married. We can still be legally signed. We can still be legally married. However, they can't tell us they can't dictate what goes on in our relationship. They can't dictate who gets what or how the divorce is settled. That's what he is pretty much advocating for. But of course, your women don't want to relinquish that power. Your women don't want to relinquish that power. They talk about equality all day, every day, but then when it comes down to actually showing that, they don't want to show it. They don't want to show it. And it's the hypocrisy that kills. And it's the hypocrisy that just that we just look at and just be like, this is just wild. This is wild. And this is why a lot of men do not want to get married, because a lot of your women always they don't believe in God, right? They don't believe in God when it's time for them to be virtuous women. It's always, well, you know what, hey, I'm a spiritual woman, or, well, you know what, hey, well, this is my interpretation of it. But then when it comes down to the Bible, it's always, so, well, this is the exact interpretation of what it means to be a man. You see it right here. It says that you need to be a protector, this, that, and the third. Once again, they try to manipulate the Bible to fit their agenda, to fit their narrative. And we're just saying, no, right? Let's go ahead and leave it up to our priests and our overseers. Let's just go ahead and leave it up to our overseers and our priests, who we may have a personal connection with, and they have our best interests at heart. When we already know the big heads, they don't have our best interests at heart. The only interest they have is the green.
Like, if you're saying that you could just do a ceremony with the church,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's what you're wanting, yes?
No, currently priests cannot marry you without the state.
Well, I mean, but it would be like you could have that within like your religious practice. It just wouldn't be legally binding, correct?
No, you really can't have that, because there's.
But that's what you want, yes?
Yes, there's laws that make that illegal. So usually a priest,
Or make it illegal?
yes, a priest often in most states, I think, actually has to have the authority of the state and issue you a marriage license in order to marry you.
Are you talking about bigamy laws?
No, I'm not talking about bigamy laws.
Well, I just don't understand why you can't just have that done.
Sorry, then what law are you referring to? Because I've never heard of a law that a religious ceremony couldn't take place without the state's
You can
permission.
make
like literally never
so
heard of this.
so you
Right,
can make
exactly.
you can make that, but it's not a recognized marriage. The state should still have to
by
recognize
the state, not
the-
Yeah,
recognized
by the
by
state, but you don't
state.
want
Stop.
it to be
This-
recognized by the
the
state.
state. Stop. The state should still have to recognize the marriage. That doesn't mean that they have the authority to adjudicate it.
Stop proving I'm making bad
Oh.
points. Stop.
You are
what would
making
that-
bad points.
What would that look like then?
No, you're the one making.
What's
bad
okay?
points, my
What's the
What
problem
does
with my
recognized by the
argument?
state
Give
mean
me
if it
give
has
me
no
an
actual,
actual
like, value from
problem
the state?
with my argument. Let me frame it the best way I
just don't
possibly
understand what
can.
your argument is.
I'm
trying to
trying.
figure it
That's
out.
why I'll try to frame it as best I can. The state does not need to adjudicate religious marriage. However,
Okay.
the state should have to recognize religious
What
marriage.
does that mean?
It means that the state is going to have to recognize that you're married by the church and recognize the church's authority to be the adjudicator over the divorce portion of it.
Okay, but what does that mean?
I
in
just
practice? Is
explained
just
it.
that your
How
last
stupid are
name?
you? Like, I just literally explained
You
it.
really didn't explain that. at
How-
all. So
how-
are you
how
saying
much
that they
more
would
can I
have,
explain
like,
this?
The recognition
Just
of like
let
the
her
last
finish
name.
her question.
Yeah, like
Can
you're
you
talking
start
about
your
like the
question
last
over?
name.
Well, I just keep
acknowledgement?
answering
Are
the
we
same
talking about tax
question.
benefits, like what are we? You did not answer that question at all.
Okay, so as far as it comes to what? Tax benefits, things like this?
Is that what you mean when you say
Perfect,
recognize?
Yeah, well,
Yes, that is what I'm asking.
whatever the benefits are that the state's going to offer up or whatever. Yes, it needs to be
So you want
recognized
the church
marriage.
to be involved in adjudication of state issues.
Well, it's not
involving
it's not just a
taxation.
state issue.
It
The
is-
state is a
the tax
composition of
laws are
people.
it.
Sure,
Stop.
it's both.
Stop.
Exactly,
The
but it
state's a
is still-
composition of people, Lauren. Okay, so people
Yes.
should be able
Yeah.
to be allowed to have their own adjudicators separate of the state, and they traditionally always have. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Traditionally always have since
Uh-huh.
what time period?
Throughout most of history, the church has been the
So,
dominion,
In the United
and
States,
the
ever?
church has been the dominion over divorce throughout most of human history. These are religious sacraments. These are
when?
not secularist sacraments. That only
Well, okay.
began during the Enlightenment period when they really started to push through laws when it came to divorce in order to promote the health and welfare of the individuals inside of these nations. But the
When in the United States did this happen?
I don't know what the exact dates were.
Never.
No, listen. Did the United States change from no fault divorce?
That happened, but that's completely different.
Okay,
than
so hang on.
adjudication by
Before
the
then, if you're going backwards, it's ridiculous for you to expect me to know the exact date that this change shifted
happened.
drastically. So yes, it has happened. I just told you traditionally the church has always been the adjudicator for who
Not
got
in the
married
United
and who got
States.
divorced. Yes.
So,
Who do you think founded the United States, Lauren? Who do you think founded it? Who got here first?
Like, in what sense?
Native
Who
Americans.
who got to America
landed
first?
On the United,
Yes.
Like, I'd say Vikings are probably. Are you talking about the country? Like, I'm so confused.
In the
It's like,
United
this is what
United
Africa
States,
from.
the
Like,
United
I'm
States
from
had
California,
the United
like,
States had
Germany,
Puritans.
Ireland.
Lauren, the United States had Puritans who got here. Puritan Christians. Okay? They were not appealing to the state because the church was the state. Okay? They were the state.
And did they
Well-
set up the Constitution of the United States?
No, that came later.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So it's not the United States never had the church adjudicated.
You mean the same United
when
States that
black
claims
women
all men
went
are created equal? Doesn't say anything about women being created equal. Didn't allow women to have suffrage. Didn't allow women to have any of those things. Didn't allow women to vote because they weren't stakeholders. Also made sure that they had limited access to property. Aren't
I
these
love
all
the
feminist?
pivot.
Aren't these
Stakeholders?
all feminist propaganda?
So essentially, she is saying that, hey, well, listen, what is there? What law is there keeping you from being able to be married, but still keeping the laws, but not having the government in your business, right? And there are a lot of ways, as he stated before. As he stated, there are a lot of things, man, that can keep you from being in a quote unquote marriage, but not a legal marriage. And I would say one of them, if I'm not mistaken, is common marriage law, where it is only in certain states. But if you pretty much act like you're getting married, you done sat over here and had a wedding, you done post pictures that you went to a honeymoon, all of this good stuff, saying that you're married, but you're not legally married, and y'all want to break up or whatever, and she wants to take it to the court, they could really hit you with a common marriage law to where, if she received mail at that house that y'all both bought, living the same life that a married couple would live, they will acknowledge that relationship as a marriage. And then you will end up paying alimony. And if y'all have kids, you will you definitely be paying child support. But that is another law, right? And that's only in certain states. And once again, that's the route I plan on going down. For sure. If I plan on getting married, that's the route I am planning on going down, because I don't want the government in my business. truth be told, I do not want the government in my business telling me I got to go ahead and pay for a woman's lifestyle who is getting drilled and getting put through the mattress in my home that they didn't kick me out of because they said, well, you know what? Hey, well, listen, well, she needs somewhere to stay. So you're going to go ahead and give her the house. You're going to go ahead and give her $200K a month. You're going to go ahead and give her $200,000 a month. And you're going to give up some of your cars to her. Like, no, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. If you're going to go down that same route that I will be going down of being married but not legally married, then hey, once again, make sure you're in a state that does not acknowledge the common marriage law. Facts. But y'all do me a huge favor, man. Leave me a like, leave me a comment, subscribe to the channel, man. Yo, bro, love some Angie Wilson. Love some Angie Wilson.